evening, I made a call to the Gyan authority to what type of the course material I have to give the participants. So in morning, I received that whatever the paper you referred for your work, you can give the soft copy or hard copy to the participants. That's enough for the participants. So we have the soft copy also, and I will print the hard copy for each and everyone one on paper so that you can read. But for the paper, we will highlight something, just whatever you will find out, we will give some slides. So from that, we will ask the simple question. How much you learn from us. So now I am coming to another part, that is Professor Jain told us about this. What is the LCMS and the GCMS platform. So I will not discuss about the LC and the GC here. I will discuss about the different platform we are using, different software, different platform we are using for the metabolite analysis. And this is something, so this course has 4 to 5 different components. The first one is the introduction, you know about the metabolomics, but omics is a word that further differentiate into the different classes, and metabolomics is one of them. And metabolomics is associated with only the biological variation in terms of the different chemical components which are present in a particular cell. As someone asked me about which solvent you have to use, so every chemical is imparting a heterogeneity to a cell actually. So if you remove a chemical, so it does not mean that everything will be okay in the cell. So when you add a new chemical, so you don't think nothing will be disturbed. Maybe the overall picture of the cell, inside the cell is changed. So for that we have to investigate comprehensive metabolites in a particular cell for this region actually. Otherwise, how could we do it? So if you are looking only for the one metabolite, so might be other wrong. If you are manipulating a single gene or single protein, you have to comprehensively analyze all the metabolites which are present there. So for GCMS and the LCMS instruments, what is the platform, how you analyze the data for the targeted metabolites, how you analyze the data for the non-targeted analysis, and what are the active areas that is for the bioinformatics. So I'm starting here, this thing you know very well. We have to focus on the comprehensive analysis of the small molecules, metabolites in the biological system, or we are using the GCMS and the LCMS. Yes, whatever the data we get, we have to analyze the data, that is the multiple dimensionals. It has too much noise, and collinear data processing we need to. These are the few challenges basically for anyone. The noise, you have to reduce the noise, you have to find out collinear data analysis, and the high dimensional actually. Data has many variations in terms of the many aspects actually. So we have to reduce the dimensions also many times. So what are the key components for the data analysis steps? The first one is the data pre-processing. Second is the feature detection and the peak alignment. Third one is the normalization. Fourth one is the statistical analysis, multivariate analysis, and the metabolites identification. So first thing that come in your minds when you run your sample in GC, LC, NMR, that is the data pre-processing. So the thing that I told you about the NMR, that is the baseline correction, spectra alignments. So it is little bit different from that one. That one was associated with the NMR, this is associated with the GCMS and the LCMS. It has the noise reduction, baseline correction, and the peak detection actually. The feature detection may you have to identify some feature actually, align the peaks along the different samples. One sample has a peak here, another sample has a peak here, but both are the sample here. So you have to manage the spectra in such a way that they can come close to each other, so that a feature actually. You can't say that this peak, if the next peak come in the same area, so it will be the same sample. No. You have to find out the feature. What is the feature that is responsible for the peak at a particular retention time. Here, that is the retention time, not the chemical shift, okay, in the GCMS and the LCMS. So you know retention time varies from one sample to the another sample, from one solvent to the another solvent, if you change the pH, if you change the flow rate, and many other things. Temperature also influence the flow rate, and the separation of the analytes from the column to the solvent, from the solvent to the column, retention is going on, continuously processed. Diffusion, eddy diffusion is also in play, a critical role here. So you have to find out which component of chemical charge of that chemical is responsible for that peak. If you know that feature, so you can easily identify another analytes which is present not at retention time, it is present at some another retention time, but it is the same component. So for that we have to go ahead with the feature detection and the peak alignment. Third is the normalization that I told you. There is so many variations come up in the sample preparation and the estimate performance. So we have to reduce those things also. Statistical analysis, you have to differentiate the different groups from each other. We can say that it is small, it is large, but on what basis we are saying that these data are different from each other with respect to some particular K interest actually. So we have to find out. Multivariate analysis, because every data has so many dimensions, so you have to differentiate them with respect to the different dimensions. And metabolite identification, this is the first steps, last steps actually. Metabolite identification. Here you can put your spectra with some reference databases and some library you want to search out and find out what is the meaning of this peak. So these are the K steps for the data analysis of the LCMS and the GCMS. Now what are the challenges and what are the future directions for this LCMS and the GCMS? The first thing is the data complexity. Data is so much robust and if you are running every day, we analyze more than 92 LCMS spectra of 92 samples. They have the biology. It was just only 6 months we invested to analyze that data in our labs. Ritu carried out that work very fantastically, and we are going to submit that paper in metabolomics or lipidomics here. So second point is the metabolite identification. Accurate and different identification of the metabolites is really a very hurdle task actually. You can say that it might be something, but you say, yes, this is that compound, so that is a little bit difficult for you. And that there are so many software available. Every day, every year, you are getting the new updates, new databases, so you don't know, okay, last time kaun sa use kiya tha, now you are getting the new databases. So, because this metabolomics is an area where you are getting every day new things, new databases are coming. So these are the major hurdles for anyone, but yes, it is still mature enough so that we are able to present our work here. So data analysis, first of all, you have to find out what type of the metabolomics you want to do. Targeted and the non-targeted actually. So targeted has a different pipeline, non-targeted has a different pipeline. Targeted means you know what type of the metabolites you need to measure actually. Non-targeted, you don't know anything. You do and then analyze what are those metabolites actually. So those are the different pipelines. And yes, targeted metabolomics is basically large-scale metabolic profiling because you need to analyze only 2 metabolites. Okay. So you can do large-scale metabolite profiling of the thousands of the sample. But if you are doing the non-targeted metabolites, so don't think you will take more than 2 and 3 and 4 samples. Because you don't know, no? If you are taking the 100 samples, so it will take 2 and 3 years to analyze those data. So nothing, no need to do. But yes, whatever the data you are getting from the one sample, that is very comprehensive. You have to do very comprehensive investigation to find out the different metabolites which are present in this thing. And yes, the another important point is that whatever the we are referring many papers and we are doing, we finally, using LCMS and GCMS, we focused only the 100 metabolites, not thousands of metabolites. And we worked on the finally 15,000 and we narrowed down only the 700, then we again narrow down, we come on the 300 and we finally able to report only 100 confirmed metabolites in a particular event actually. And the person from the bench tech told me that if you submit this paper with 100 metabolites with accuracy and the precise, so it will be the best hit in this area actually. So try to understand. If you are reporting only 100 metabolites now, so that's more than enough. More than enough. So don't think you have to report thousands of the metabolites because every page is representing something different. Where you are the confident, so go ahead with only those metabolites, otherwise leave it. And remember, a false publication, a false reporting of the metabolites in a paper can retrade your paper after 5 and 10 years. So we are avoiding. We are confident, we report, otherwise we reject that thing. So that is our ethics that we are flowing here. So now I am coming here with the targeted metabolomic investigations. Here, these are the 5 different pipelines in a stepwise manner we are using. The first one is the raw data acquisition. So how you actually retrieve the raw data for your further analyzing. Then generation of the referential databases. You have to generate some databases with using some particular software. Third one is the identification, isolation and the identification of the metabolites from those databases, whatever you constructed here. Then you have to normalize and quantify only those analytes on which you want to focus actually. And finally is the biochemical interpretation. So this is the 5 steps. I am coming in the first one. So this is the first one, raw data acquisition. Raw data acquisition means, we are doing actually low resolution tandem mass. As sir told in the morning, mass spectroscopy. So there are the many different types of the metal mass spectroscopy are used. Yes, LRMS, MS that is used, like QLIT for metabolic quantification using the SMR, SRM actually. So HRMS can also be used to the targeted metabolomics. These are the different spectroscopy which are using for the targeted metabolomics actually. So now here what happening, we can analyze the data by 2 different modes. First is the centroids and second is the profile actually. So you have to find out which one is the best one for you. Data acquisition modes is centralized modes basically create the small coils actually, but is many times lose the information. So, but sometimes it is necessary, always remember that. And profile I retain the information software by using the mass works as well as the better identification of the metabolites. We are going ahead with the profile. But sometimes targeted, sometimes non-targeted, and sometimes we are using the interdisciplinary approach in which we are working blindly, targeted and non-targeted also. So on those cases you have to define, but here for the targeted you have to go ahead with the profile also, you have to go ahead with the satellite, the data acquisition modes, but satellites is giving some loss of the data actually. So profiling we are using, but some cases only centroid is more preferably more for the data acquisition actually. So these data, modern data can be handled profile modes files, making centroid mode less necessary and profile modes preferred for targeted metabolomics. So try to understand these are the different types of the mass spectroscopy which are using. LRMS and HRMS. That is the less common, that is the most common. So these are the different types of the same SRM values actually you are getting. Okay, this is the full scale, giving the full scale. And this is the acquisition modes, that is the profile and the centroid. So profiling is doing the whole profiling, centroid is just focus on the different components. But many times we are going ahead with the profiling. So here, this is the things, by using this HRMS, you are getting such type of the chromatogram, LRMS, you are getting such type of the chromatogram. So here you are able to convert that data into some specific spectra here. That is the first steps of the data acquisition. The second is the generation of the referential databases. So initial hypothesis you have to start here, and targeted metabolite necessitates a comprehensive effort databases containing detailed information about the different analytes here. So this database typically includes nominal and the exact mass, chemical formula, retention times, and the precursor product ion mass to charge values also. Here we have the detailed information about each and every analyte. So this file has all the useful information about those analytes basically. How we construct these referential databases. So there are the 2 things. First is the homemade and second is the outline databases actually. So homemade databases, every labs has so many, they can make those databases and they are freely available on their web pages. But online databases, that Matlin is the most famous, HMDB is another, then Mass Bank, Lipids Mass, NIST and Embedded Clouds can provide the detailed information about the database construction. So this is the pipeline for this one, initial hypothesis, elaboration of the predefined list of the metabolites, then we have to find out the previous knowledge, on the basis of that we consult the different metabolic databases, and finally we can make the homemade databases. If you consult with the another databases, so you can go ahead with the Matlin and lipid mass. There is so many databases. I will explain those databases in another class actually. I have another class. So So now, the isolation and the identification of the metabolites, this is the third step of the targeted metabolites. So here, whatever the creation of a reference database is, you can use to retrieve the databases have all the information. Okay. Now, on the basis of that information, you have to identify the particular metabolites which is just you are looking for those metabolites. Only think about those metabolites. So for that, typically some software are available. Waters has their own, Thermo has their own software, and you can use them. Every company, whatever is in the mass spectroscopy, they have their own software for the isolation and the identification of the metabolites. So if you have the Waters instruments, so they have their own software, you have to use that only software. But identification of the level matters actually. So there are the 4 different levels of the metabolite identification. The first one is the definitives, require confirmation with the authentic standards. So level 1, level 2 and the 3 is the putative and the tentative. You are tagging those metabolites with a particular name on the basis of their metabolites, name, class, structures, and 4th is the unknown compound. So you can put some metabolites in the level 1, in the level 2, level 3, level 4, depends on what type of the information you retrieve from those metabolites based upon their detailed information. So this way we can identify, okay, we have the 400 metabolites, but finally confirm we only 60. And 200 are the putative metabolites, and rest of them we don't know actually. So forget about we don't know. Just focus only on the targeted metabolites. You target it for your work. Have you identified those ones? If yes, then go ahead. So platform for the identification is another steps, and this LRMS and MS के लिए we are using the SIM, SRM for high sensitivity and broad dynamic range, suitable for the large scaling metabolic profiling. HRMS के लिए we are going with the full scale modes, and accurate mass deviation is necessary for the identification. The ultimate goal of the target metabolites is often to identify the specific metabolites associated with some particular biological variation. It was an example of a disease, so you are looking here for the disease. So if there are 2 persons, one is the one has some issue and medical issue, and second one is the healthy. So ultimate in the targeted, okay, you are going in the labs and giving your blood sample for identification of some disease or some marker. Whatever they're looking some biomarkers, and those biomarkers are already identified that they are associated with a different disease actually. So in the targeted metabolites, we are targeting, we know that biomarker, we are analyzing the metabolics, and we can do it. And you can go predictive also. After 2 years, what will happen? They have some type of the pattern actually. We can identify many diseases many days before if we do those metabolic analysis very well. And remember, now what is going on? These insurance companies, they are taking the blood sample and many others in other countries. They can find out that after many years he will die or she will die. They can easily understand. So that they negotiate for the insurance policy based upon that thing. But that is the secret for many companies. Foreign it's happened many times. In India, there was some project censored by some insurance company to some transcriptomics. We have to customer these experiments you have to do and find out some biomarkers which can give us some tentative lifespan of that particular individual also. So biomarkers is just like that thing. So here we can easily identify those things if we are going ahead with the targeted methodology. Normalization is another step in the quantification. Normalization, the same thing we told during the NMR. We have to go ahead with the normalization. You have to remove all the unwanted variations which happen during the sample biasness, technical biasness, or any other type of the biasness which come here. So here I am using the word noise and the noise, both of the things. So review of the variation, confounding variation. So these are the 3 different methods, that is the surrogates, internal samples, and the QC actually. Surrogates, when you are extracting the data, so when you are extracting the metabolites by using the solvent, so we are adding some chemical before the extraction by the solvent. So those are labeled as a surrogates, and some we are adding after extraction. So those are labeled as a IS, and QC is the quality control. So we do this type of the control chemicals to normalize the thing so that we know that how much we have to normalize. So what is the surrogate sample, IS and the QC? We integrate the information by retrieve from these three different things, and then we integrate the peaks, heights, then we use the statistical evaluation, and finally we can identify the different biomarkers this way. So surrogates is about something, so that thing is here. So these are the key strategies for the normalization. The first one is the randomized sample orders. So sometime I have to start to read all of you from the hair. Next time from the hair. I will count here, you are the 55, and I will count from that end, it will be the 55. So I can minimize the errors during what happening during the counting of your sitting plan. So that concept is labeled as a randomized sample orders. So one time I analyze the sample from this end, second time I analyze the sample from that end up to here. So that is a randomized sample order. And the second is about the internal standards that I told you. Internal standards we are commonly add to normalize the metabolite concentration basically. So basically these are the isotope labeled chemical compounds. They are added to the sample after the extraction, and they can be used for the various metabolites, like for the quantification purpose, like glycolytic intermediates, amino acids, and the nucleotides also. Surrogates, they are added to the sample before the extractions and can be used to full set of the isotope labeled standards. However, isotope labeled standard are not available for the surrogates. Quality control, which are pulled multiple samples, and I think I was here actually. So surrogates, they are added to the sample before the extraction and can be used when full set of the isotope is not available actually. QC, which are pool of the multiple sample and the analyzed throughout the analysis purpose to monitor the instrument stability as well as the correction intensity deviation. So whenever you will go somewhere now, so you will find out every product has a lot number. That lot number is representing the QC of that particular thing, but the machine variation, anything come up there. So by applying this type of the variation techniques, researchers can improve the accuracy and the reproducibility of the metabolites study also. So flowing normalization, the last step is yet not be achieved of the targeted metabolites, that is the metabolic quantification. It can be carried out by integrating the peak signal and the constructing the calibration curve. So those things we have to do during this particular steps. These particular steps involve many software LC of the different company. Every vendor supply their own software, and some are associated with the automatic upscaling also. So statistical tool were used, which is the ANOVA and many others, PCN, the PLSDA that I told you, OPLSDA, those ones can be used here also. And yes, this is the biochemical interpretation. So when you know the different biomarkers which are present at the different steps, so we have to go ahead with these particular steps. We have to find out what is the biochemical pathway that is highly active there. Okay, and so these are the 4 different software which can be used. There are multiple databases. I will come in another lecture tell you about the different databases also. This is the pipeline of the targeted metabolite quantification by the LC and the GCMS only. So we use the CAG, we can use the BioSys also, we can use the MetaSys also, and you can use the wiki pathway also too for the curative pathway data actually. So CAG has very large data sets, and it can be analyzed the gene annotation, genome, metabolism link. Biosynthesis is only associated with the genome databases for the specific organism. MetaSys is associated with the metabolic pathway of the various organisms basically. So here is a summary of this particular targeted metabolite analysis. So these are the different software which we have to use. MR, MP, MR, and probes actually. MR and probes is analyze large scale SR platform, import raw data. Whatever the raw data you have to come, you have to import into the various format actually. That is the MZ, ML, and often a standard library for metabolic identification. So look here, out of the 3775 transition, someone identified only in the library they identified 301 metabolites. So they focused on the 301 metabolites, not on the metabolites whatever they are present, not present in the library actually. So you have to use the user-defined by library with some text files, and you have to export the data and use some statistical tool for this particular type of the work. MS set Double M set perform the automated metabolic quantification. These two software are for only metabolic quantification. The second one is the quantification from the SRM data. That was a big one. SRM experiment. It is only for a small SRM data. This is compatible with the MZ XML files, and yes, many software are available which are provided by the different vendors. You don't need the prior knowledge for this type of the experiments, and you can identify and quantify the different metabolites coming from the different biochemical shifts also, and yes, export data in the tab limited format for the further analysis. So this is the open software. These are the paid software actually by the different vendors, but this is the open software, that is the open Chrome. It is an open source and cross-platform software for the LCM data analysis and support the various formats of the means you can use it for the different files also. Open tool for the baseline corrections, peak detection, identification, and the mass spectra comparison. So these tools along with the MIP and MAR provides alternative for the vendor software for the LCMS data analysis. For the LCMS, you can use this open Chrome also. If you have the raw data actually. If some machine is doing, so they can do. If they are not able to do, then you can do by using the open Chrome. So now I am coming for the non-targeted metabolomics investigations. So whatever I told you, that was the different files, different pipeline from the targeted metabolites by the LC. Here you have to go ahead with the 9 different steps. Stepwise manners, and starting with the same raw data acquisition, data storage and the conversion. It was not present in that targeted metabolomics. Here, third one is the data import and the data compression. So these are the few additional pipelines which you can find out here, which are not present in the targeted metabolomics. Yes, data normalization, scaling, and the transformation was also a part of the targeted metabolomics. Feature detections, biomarker screening, biomarker identification, and biochemical interpretation. These are the another stepwise manner to identify this thing. So I'm coming on the data acquisition here. This is the same thing that I told you, and there is no little bit difference, but almost it is the same. And yes, profile and the centroid, so you have to decide which one you have to go ahead. Profiling is the most recommended, but centroid is used in some specific conditions only. Data storage and the conversion. So this is the very important steps. What the data actually? So these are the 5 different vendors: Waters, Thermo Fishers, Agilent, ABC, and the Bruker actually. They are supplying the different LCMS actually. So these LCMS, whatever the file they give actually. So the Waters give the .raw file, and Thermo Fisher is giving the .raw file extension of the file. Agilent is coming with the .d file, and ABC is coming with the WIFF bit, and Bruker come with the WD file. So they are coming with the different extension, and you have to use the, sometimes you have to different converter to convert these files into the normal file so that you can analyze for the normal work actually. So for that you have to use the different converter. Waters has the data bridge file for the conversion of this row into this one, ASC11. So this data bridge is used for the conversion of the row into the next TXT extension. This file converter is used by the Thermo Fisher to convert the .raw file into the A and DI files actually. And this Agilent is coming with the .d extension, and this chemostation exports is used to convert into the MZXML file. So most common file that used in the metabolomics is the MZXML file actually. The WIF is converted by using the MS data converter into the MZML file, and Bruker.d compass export is used to convert again into the MZMX file. So every company has their own file setup, and they have their own converter to convert those files into the more simple file which is useful for us, because those complicated files have so many comprehensive information that is not useful for us for the different data analysis. So So we have to think about it, that how can we reduce the thing so that we can analyze those data actually. The another point is that this is the same thing that I told you. Waters has the miscellaneous with data bridges tool. Thermofisher has the Excalibur with the file converter. Brooker has the Compass Export AB Science X come with the MS data converter. Agilent come with the chemo station and the export HMD file tools actually. So these are the vendor specific software, but if you go down, you will find out some open source tools actually. These open source tools have the Sesame project. This is a project by some laboratory. So it is very well actually. It is well developed. And Proteome Wizard is another one which can convert the vendor format to the MZML, MZ, XML and text file also. By converting data to the open format, we are able to use the different type of the statistical tool and the bioinformatics tool for the data analysis actually. So that's why we have to convert it. It is a mandatory thing. Otherwise, how could you do the bioinformatics analysis? So second point is the data imports. So when you get for the untargeted analysis one is a software which converted to the open formats. Also data need to be imported into the analysis platform actually. So data import is the way by which data import can be directly and by the bioinformatics. So this come in. Initially it has many GB data, but when you import, so finally you reduce the size of those files and finally you get a file which can be used by the different bioinformatics tools. Because every tool require a particular extension or some unique information of those data. So data import is a very key important component steps for the non-targeted metabolomics. The another steps is the feature detection package. So you have to use some software which are present in a pipeline to extract the unique feature among the different variations so that you can capture them, use them as a reference to differentiate one set of the sample to the another set of the sample. So XCMS, Metaline, Marker Leaks, as well as Jadavine. These are the few software, these are the different packages we have to use for the feature extraction protocol basically. So general data analysis platform, MATLAB and the R. So I requested someone, he gave a lecture on the R. He told me it is not possible for me right now. I am not able to do. So, sorry. But R is a very important for this type of the work. If you use the R, so you can analyze the data easily actually. So open MS find function export data from one open format to the MZR objects actually, if you are using the R. And peak function extract the spectral data into a matrix for the further. Whatever the peak you are getting, you have to convert those peak into some matrix. Then only you can do some data analysis, otherwise it's not possible. So MZR is very useful for the data import actually in popular R-based function detection package like the XCMS and the FS and base actually. So these are the different bioinformatics tools which we have to use for this particular purpose. So data compression is another component. Now, we have so much enormous data, friendly data, we can see the height, facing features, skin color, now only on this stage actually. Before that we are not able to identify what the feature they have. We have to make them user-friendly analysis purposes. For the analysis purposes, we just convert those data from the highly complex detailed information into the simple data. Now you got the data, but now it has so much information, location, size, X, Y, Z. So you have to compress the data. So when that is present in the 5 GB, you will get only 500 base MB. So now for that, when you are doing the compression of the data, so what is the major issue that come up with that? Sometimes you lost some dimensions. Okay. So you have to decide which dimension, which feature is the most important for you, so that if that is lost during the data compression, then you have to change the data compression concept actually. You use some other criteria for the data compression. So LCMS data set poses the significant computational challenges for all of us because their size and complexity. अब साइज इतना बड़ा होगा तो मशीन ही नहीं कर पाएगी उसको एनालाइज, और वो इतने कम्प्लेक्स होते हैं, एक चीज़ को आप यदि डिफाइन करें अलग अलग एंगल से तो you will get so much enormous information about those metabolites. We need only just a few parameters, so we reduce. So when you reduce, so we are using those data compression techniques and we imply to reduce the size and the facilitate the efficient processing. So data processing techniques के लिए we are using the different concept. These are the three different concepts for the data processing. The first was the binning, second is the search of the region of the interest, and the third is the time windowing. So give me 2 minutes. I'm breaking. ये बिल्कुल क्लियर है, इसमें आप एक्सप्लेन करने का ये है कि ये चीजें अलग अलग हैं. So I am only just explaining what are the ABCD XYZ only, so that you know एक overall picture of those beta belongings, targeted and non-targeted beta belongings. तो वही आपके सामने है. So for the data compression, you have to go ahead with the 3 steps. You can use the 1 and the 2 simultaneously, you can use the 1 and the 3 also simultaneously, but they have the different applications. So binning that I told you in the bucketing, in the NMR, so that is similar to the binning also, but binning is just like here we are using the mass value. In that bucketing we are using the ppm, chemical sieve. Here this mass value into the bin for the fixed widths actually. So you have to fix the area, small house. When you have the big house, so you have to first of all do the painting in the one room, then another room, then another room. So we divide the whole spectra into the small sectors, bins actually. So they reduce the dimensions by average and the summation intensity within each bin, balance data reduction, information preservation also. I will come on this binning quickly. So I will come on this binning in the next slide also for the picture illustration. So now the second part is the search of the region of the interest. So sometimes you are not interested in the whole spectra, you are looking for some specific region only. So when you are interested in some specific region, so better to focus only on those regions actually. So identify the specific mass region in which you are looking some specific metabolites and focus on the relevant data segments only. Then it can automatically reduce the volume. If you would like to focus only particular region, so remove all other things, why you need, and you just focus on that thing. So that type of the data compression is labeled as a search of the research of the interest actually. The third is the time windowing. In the time windowing actually, we divide the whole spectra with the spanning time actually. So chromatography run, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So 1 minute, how many peaks? 2 minutes, how many peaks come with the in between the 1 and the 2? So this way we can divide the whole spectra into the small time interval also. That is another important point. And by doing this method, we can extract meaningful information and the acceleration data analysis workflow. So binning is the most important actually. It is a, you can say, double-edged sword. Binning is widely used technique to compress the LCMS data. And the another point is that it converts the raw data into a matrix format, and where retention time is plotted against the MZ value actually, mass to charge ratio. So when you plot this graph of each and every peak, so you will get some matrix, and those matrix can be used by group, and we can achieve it by one axis MZ, another axis is that retention time, and finally what you are getting, you are dividing the scale of the MZ into the small segments that is labeled as a bin of a specific width size. And the challenge of the bin size selection is really very difficult. Sometimes you are going with the very small, sometimes you are going with the very big. So you have to find out where you have to fix the bin width actually. And sometimes data reduction and the spectrum resolution is also compromised when you reduce the bin size also. So that's why we have to think about it. So this is a, let me example of this bin size actually. So this is the visualization, the impact of the binning actually. How this is, just look here. So this is the raw data that is present here, 0.1 ppm. So now this is the MZI and this is the MZ total. And finally we compress the whole data, and now these are the two different peaks. This is the I and this is the Z. So when you compress the peaks, So you will find out this type of the compressed which has the same information with respect to this particular area, and we divide the whole this chronogram, I'm using a chronogram word here, into different small sectors. So you know this peak is here, this peak is here, but they are coming in the same level. So when they come in the same level, so they come in the same level. Otherwise, if you go scale now, so this is here and this is here. So when you divide the whole width into the small sectors, so you are able to find out that both peaks are coming from the same analytes. Same analytes is present, which is at the different retention time. So that's why this is something that is associated with the data compression. Your information is retained, but you reduce the size of the data here. So this is the first case, and the second case is the data region of the interest for the targeted data compression. That is the another point. Here again the data is highly elaborated data. This is the original data of the high resolution. Remember, original data has the highest resolution because it has all the information, but we are not able to analyze that data. So we have to reduce little bit at the different steps to get some meaningful information. So offer a targeted approach to reduce the LCM data size while preserve the spectrum integrity. So spectrum is here. Okay, we try to integrate the spectrum, and finally this is the vector containing the ROI high. We are focusing only on this region of the interest, and we finally down the side. So when you down the side, you will find out that resolution we try to maintain only because we are focusing only on the small area, not the whole area also. Only that particular area, and finally you reduce it, and finally you reduce, and you finally come this way. So this matrix representing the high resolution even after when you are focusing only the region of the interest. This is the second way of the compression of the data. And yes, a few steps of the ROI identification. You scan the chromatogram for region with the high intensity signal from where you are getting the high intensity signal. Then filter out noise and low intensity signal. You have to rid of all the noises, whatever you are getting here, small peaks. Ensure a minimum number of the constitutive data points within a specific mass detection you are getting, and matrix formulation group identified using the different retention time, calculate the mean margin value for each ROI groups, and finally create a matrix with the retention time on the x-axis and meaning MZ value on the y-axis. So after completion of this the matrix, you are able to identify what your focus on that region, so it will be highlighted here also. So go back to this, the same ROI is present here. It was little bit small, and now finally it can be easily used. There is so many peaks. You can find out so many peaks. Here is this peak. Here is this peak. Previously this peak was here. This peak was here. You can see small peak here. One peak was here. So when you focus on the ROI, so what happens? Finally, these peaks come on this area. So you can do this type of the data compression also by using the data compression tools actually. So I am coming on the third part of the data compression, that is the time windowing. Time windowing is a very complementary approach, and scan the chromatograph, because you have to scan the chromatograph each and every step. Okay, so when you scan, so for you identify all the region with high intensity signal as well as the low intensity signal, and you filter out all the noises and low intensity signal very well. And this by processing each time window actually, whatever the time window you are using. So time window is a technique actually that is divided the LCMS chromatogram into the small time segments, and that's why this approach can be particularly useful when the binning alone is not sufficient to give you the whole compression of the data. So sometimes this time windowing tool is used with the binning also. By processing each window independently, computational resources we have to use to analyze the time, which can be significantly reduced with respect to the experiments. However, it is the important, please note that the careful selection of the window size is the most important actually to avoid any loss of any valuable information. If you are using carelessly, you are using any window size, so might be you lost the meaningful information of those areas. So we have to be optimize this, sometime this window, next time this window, this way, and you will find out in which, when you selecting a particular window period, so you are getting your analytes or not. So you have to optimize this thing according to your own experiment. So data normalization and scaling and the transformation is the another step. That is the similar almost with respect to the targeted metabolites. But yes, normalization can be carried out by the two different methods. Then there is a transformation. So accurate identification, the reliable identification of these non-targeted metabolites can be, we have to do by using many steps. The first step is the chemical normalization that we have to do. Use the internal standards and the quality control to correct for the synthetic variation. So this is the chemical we have to use. I told you about we add some chemical before the extractions. So that we have to use for the chemical normalization. So that can be used the surrogates actually. The another is the mathematical normalization. For the mathematical normalization, we are using some tools actually, algorithm, to adjust the differences between the different samples. So that mathematics, surrogates, IS and the QC, these are the three things. Mathematics, we are using the some specific equations, and scaling comes from here and then transformation. So data scaling is the another things that I told you in the NMR also, and auto scaling, Pareto scaling, range scaling, and data transformation come with the log transformation and the power transformation also. So data scaling is another steps that has to come here. So choosing the right pre-processing method actually. So you have to choose which will be the best one. It depends on the three things. First is the biological variation. For experiment with the significant biological variation, robust normalization method you have to use. Here they are pointed here, log ESS and the PKM1, which are recommended for the if you are looking some biological variation. So technical variation, we have to go ahead with some careful preparation, and the instrument calibration is essential. The technical here, NMR, there is no need for the technical, but for the LCMS and the GCMS, you have to use the technical replicates, of course. Data distribution is the another point you have to take care. The distribution of the data can influence the choice of the transformation. And goal of the analysis, what type of the biomarker, discovery, identification, pathway, you are using actually. What is your target objective of your research? So on the basis of that, you can identify which pre-processing tool is the best one for your work actually. So it has 9 steps. Now I am coming on the 6 steps. So it is the feature detection and the peak resolution for the non-targeted. So we have to go and identify the mass to charge ratio with respect to the retention time. Aim to distinguish the real chemical compounds from the noise and the artifacts. Often involve the peak alignments and the shaping to improve the accuracy. So XCMS is the common software. Another software is the MetaLine and the MZ9, which are used here. So this is the normal course of the feature detection of the peak resolution. So you can use the chemometrics also, and you can go ahead with open source feature detection package. These packages are finally peak alignment and the shaping, and then detective the feature, and those features you can use for the purpose. But sometimes we have to go ahead with the multivariate analysis and MCR ALS, no peak alignments and no shaping here, but we resolve the MCR components, and we go ahead with the concentration profiling as well as the spectral profiling here. So peak resolution is the another point. We have to separate all the overlapping peaks to identify the individual components. We apply the advanced chemometric techniques, that is the MCR ALS, to extract the pure sample, and the Lucene profiling can be applied directly to the raw data without prior peak correction actually. And both techniques are very accurate to identify and characterize the compound which are present in the complex mixtures. By combining the facial feature extraction and the peak resolution, we can obtain more comprehensive understanding of the metabolic profiling of the different sample actually. So biomarker screening is the another steps. That is a vital process in the metabolomics to identify the different metabolite, like the healthy and the disease person. As I told you, sometimes some person say that if you do these things, so your problem will be sorted out. And some say that you use this medicine, your problem will be sorted out. So one drug gives the a different type of the metabolic profiling in your body. Another drug is false drugs is giving the different type of the metabolic profiling in your body. So basically, one is helping, second is doing nothing actually. So you are getting the a single medicine can change your whole metabolic profile. आप में कोई disease है और वो ठीक हो जाती है, तो you try to understand. So biomarker screening we can do by using the same method, sometimes falsified, and false discovery, data complexity, and overfitting. These are the major challenges for the biomarker screening. Now, common biomarker screening methods, we are using the statistical methods, that is the t-test, Men's Whitney, U-test, ANOVA, and chemometrics when we are using the PCA, ICA, TLSDA that we discussed, LLR, CART, SR, VIP, and ASCA. The key points we have to take care here. First one is the threshold selection, second is the method comparison, and third is the statistical validations. So threshold selection के लिए we have to use some VIP and the SR is crucial. So I will request the Ritu to take one lecture in the last day. There is my lecture of the disease and the metabolics. So at least I will speak for the 10 minutes, then Ritu will help to know what is the VIP score, thresh and SR value actually. So method comparison, you have to compare the different methods and give a different result, and you have to compare very precisely, accurately. This is the necessary steps. Statistical validation, you have to use the different statics to validate whatever the data you are getting actually. So biomarker identification is the 8 steps. So low identification rate and the complex data, these are the challenge, and you have to go ahead with the tool. So these are the strategy for the biomarker identification. We have to use HRMS as a different strategy, provide accurate mass characteristics, adding in the metabolites identification. Second is the MS for the structure identification. Third one is the LC2 of MS, that is more powerful, the targeted and the non-targeted. Please note that sometimes we are not working on the targeted, we are not working on the non-targeted metabolomics. We are working on the hybrids actually, some targeted, some non-targeted. So for that we can use many things. So data processing and the analysis, here again the data peak detection, alignment, feature extraction, and the statistical analysis for the biomarker identification. If you identify a single biomarker for a particular biological situation, you can publish a paper in 10 minutes. Try to understand the strength of this work. So our coming data comparison is issue actually when you compress the data. So what are the overall things that come up and challenge for us, that recovery of those HRMS data, so direct comparison and the least square fitting. K consideration is the quality, data matching, spectrum library, expert interpretation. These are the 6 points we have to take care actually when we have to come with the data comparison issues actually. So last is the biochemical interpretation. So biochemical interpretation is the pathway elucidation with online databases. So CAG, BioSys, MetaSys, and the wiki pathways, which are we mentioned previously in the targeted metabolomics. You can use the same one for the biochemical interpretation here also. Now, this is an active area of the bioinformatics research also. Combination of the data analysis strategy, enhancing facial features. You can enhance the facial feature actually. Sometimes it is difficult to find out the facial feature. Facial feature means a feature which is associated with the analytes, which can be used to demarcate that analytes from the other one actually. So reducing the false positive, sometimes I know about this false positive and the false negative. When I was in Corona in 2020, 10th April 2020, I was volunteer work for 1 month in Faridpur Medical College for the scaling, initiation and the scaling of the COVID testing. So it was, someone requested me and my family allowed me, so I just joined it. And at that time no one was coming outside, so we entered into the COVID lab, we worked. So at that time there was so many confusion among the scientists and students. Who is positive, who is negative actually. False positive, false negative. So this AIA, All India Radio and many Doordarshan and this Hindu and this Indian Express contact me. And they told me we have to understand what is the meaning of this false positive and false negative actually. I told them it is very difficult to say. If you analyze the data of that particular peak of the COVID person, qPCR, then only I can say. So we make a bar there and we just see the pattern and we can say that it is the positive and it is the negative actually. And yes, one person come from the Badal family. He was the pope of the Badal family, and this vice chancellor made a call to me, Vinay, let me know he's positive or negative. They were confused like this. One day positive, next day negative. So Badal made a call to them and made, you don't know anything. So he called me and told me, Vinay, let me know he's positive or negative. So one of my colleagues told that he's negative. I was silent, but I come outside, so that vice chancellor come along with me outside. Vinay, what is your output? Well, he's positive. Vinay, why you are telling this time? So I made a science. I represented him just in the corner of the washroom. I explained the whole concept. He told me, okay, now I will do. So rest of the things he managed his position. He got the extension also, vice chancellor. So that was trying to understand what is the meaning of the false positive and the false negative actually. They can change the whole result opposite actually, and that's why. So we have to reduce all the false positive, and automatic data analysis is another concept we have to take care. These are the few points, and just we have to fusion of these things with the omics field actually. Integrating multi-omics data, that is combining the different omics platform, transcriptomics, proteomics and the metabolomics, can give us the comprehensive understanding of the biological variation. So if you say that metabolomics is every standalone science, so might be you're the wrong. If we are working on the integrated approach, so yes, we are doing much better coverage of those components. So we have to integrate the integrated data, and by addressing this area, we can develop more powerful and the robust platform to analyze LCMS platform data sets. So yes, I would like to appreciate many thanks to all of you. Yes, these are the papers we referred here, and I would like to say that this is the pipeline that you can use for the LCMS and the GCMS. GCMS and LCMS, there is no so much less. And this presentation, previous presentation was prepared by me alone. This presentation was helped by Ritu for the preparation of this slide for me. Whatever the question in your minds, we have 20 minutes because we started I think 2:10. So at the 4:10 we relieve because it's a 2-hour class. So now you can ask your question related to the data, your question related to the experiments, what you are doing, what you want to do, how you will do. So those answers will be given by me to all of you. And yes, it will be a casual discussion, but it is recording, so please take this thing in your mind and you can ask whatever you want to ask related to this course and everything. आपका कोई क्वेश्चन है, आपको पूछना चाहे तो पूछ सकते हो, और आप ये भी पूछना चाहो कि हम इस चीज़ को कैसे यूज़ करें, कहाँ से मिलेगा, तो मैं उसका भी जवाब देने की कोशिश करूँगा. हाँ सर, बनी बोलिए. हाँ जी बोलिए.
So can I ask something related to GCMS result?
हाँ, बैठ के बोल सकते हो.
Sir, in GCMS, at time we have observed, जो हमारी observations आई हैं, उनमें से sometimes one compound can be found at different retention times. So what does it denote?
Actually, I have a full presentation on this point actually. This is a very big question and it has elaborated explanation. So in the simple language I can say that basically a solution has many analytes. Okay. Solution has many analytes. So we want to separate them. For the separation, we need something by which it can pass on. Some interaction with something. So paper chromatography was one of them, in which observation concept was used, and finally column come up. Previously there was the electrophoresis column, and this column come up, and the TLC come up, then they pack the material in a column. So finally you will know a column. It has a standard size, it has uniform packing, and it has a diameter also. So now it was very difficult to put the sample, so they use the pressure. So that's why HPLC comes up. Now HPLC, you have the column, very small column. Tomorrow we have the time, we will go visit the GCMS. I told them I will make a call and they will arrange the visit of you in the CIE. So you are putting your sample with the high pressure. So flow rate matters, first thing. Second thing is that what is the solvent you are using for the running purpose. Sometimes it is the polar, sometimes non-polar, some are the gradient, and there is so many conditions actually. Temperature, flow rate, and this solvent, whatever you are using for these things. Okay, now when these metabolites is moving in the column, so this is the column, metabolites is moving. Now there is affairs between those metabolites with the column components. Some are very strongly bind, some are loosely bind. So some metabolites interact very strongly with the column metabolites. Okay, so they retain here. Other are loosely bound, so they come with the solvent. They come first of all. So you detect them as a single peak. But all those strongly bound, if you change the gradient, so they will come after some time. They will give you the another peak. So this is an affinity concept actually. Affinity coefficient बोलते हैं इसको. KD आता है, कई चीजें आती हैं actually. लेकिन मुझे टाइम मिला तो मैं समझा दूँ. मेरे पास पूरी लेक्चर है, मैं क्लास में लेता हूँ मेरे बच्चों की. So now, if you manipulate the interactions between the analytes and your column that has some specific particle, so you can manipulate the retention time by which that compound is coming from the column. So this retention time varies from one set of the experiment to the another set of the experiment, depends on the methodology, depends on the conditions, depends on the type of the column you are using, and even depends on that what type of the metabolites you want to identify. So there is so many parameters. It has a mathematical equation also. So, and now this column, you think this is a small one. Every column, we divide every column into the theoretical partitioning plates actually. Theoretical plates. And theoretical plates, every analytes, whatever the analytes of your interest, it interact with one theoretical plates, then it come out, then it go in the another theoretical plates, then come out, then it go into another theoretical plate. So previously it was only single affair of the analytes with the column. Now there are 100 and 1,000 theoretical plates. Every plate first of all interact, hold that metabolites very tightly, then it loose by that theoretical plates, then there is a next affair of the analytes, then next this way. So you will find out how many theoretical plates it has. It has more theoretical plates means more validation, more checks. More checks means it comes after some time with the pure amount. So now holding of those analytes by those solutes, if they hold too much, we change the solvents, it will come out. So there are many parameters. I can't say that it is the one reason. There are multiple reasons which are responsible to getting the one retention time different from the another retention time in another experiment. So if you, I don't know, इसमें मैंने यूज नहीं किया, मेरे को LCMS का वो चीजें नहीं लेके आऊँ जो प्रोफेसर जैन लेके आए actually.
So if it happens in one run time?
Basically, what happening actually, if you optimize all these conditions, so there is a less chances that you will get the same retention time if your machine is working in Los Angeles, your machine is working in the Benji. The concept is the same. No? If the conditions are the same, so RT is also the same. But because our manual, there is some technical errors, machine has some issues, handling errors, you know. So sometimes this retention can shift from one place to the another place. But if you know that if we change a little bit, so this retention can give you the different space also. So we can't say, but yes, every metabolite in a particular predefined condition has a constant retention time. Retention time means a time that was taken by the metabolites when it entered into the column and come out of the column. So retention means time of the affairs of those metabolites in that column actually. So when you plot the graph now, so it come this way. So sample come here, after some time it is detected. So there the time, gap time, first a few peaks of the solvents, Then you will find out the first analyte, then second analyte. So you know the first, that your compound has the retention time 28, but it is coming in the 26 here. But originally it is the 28. So next time you don't know what is the reason why it is coming on the 26 minutes. So you have to optimize what is the condition. You change it. If it is coming on the 25, so manipulate those parameters. It will come automatically on the 28 in the constant predefined condition definitely. आएगा वहाँ पर.
So actually in my experiment, it was a single experiment, and there was a compound like octacylloxane. Its retention time was 30.28, 31.54 and 33.11.
काफी ज़्यादा है.
Right. So if अगर हमारे ये डाटा मिला भी है, so what should we choose? Which retention time should we choose?
First thing is that which column you are using.
Okay.
Second, what is आपका जो methods है उसमें अपने कौन-कौन से running जो solvents है वो कौन-कौन से हैं. ये मुझे यदि कल थोड़ा सा टाइम मिला तो मैं आपको 20 मिनट्स में GCMS में ये कैसे होता है मैं आपको विजुअली रिप्रेजेंटेशन करके दिखा दूंगा. बट यदि आपका कभी 32 आ रहा है, कहीं कभी 34 आ रहा है,
एक ही सिंगल एक्सपेरिमेंट में
नहीं, सिंगल एक्सपेरिमेंट में हो सकता है 3 अलग-अलग कंपोनेंट्स में डेरिवेटिव्स में.
No, it's the same derivative.
आपने स्टैंडर्ड्स चलाया है?
No sir.
स्टैंडर्ड्स एक बार डाल के देखिए वो कहाँ पीक दे रहा है.
Okay.
यदि स्टैंडर्ड भी 3 जगह दे रहा है क्या? ऐसा होगा नहीं.
No.
वो तो एक ही जगह देगा.
रहेगा और सैंपल में अगर आपका कंपाउंड है वो उसी जगह देगा.
वो वही जगह देगा. तो वो स्टैंडर्ड्स डाल के देखिए आप एक बार. पॉजिटिव बोलते हैं उसको पॉजिटिव स्टैंडर्ड्स. तो कई बार सैंपल में डाल देते हैं. हमें ये नहीं पता था इसमें सैंपल की पीक कौन सी निकलेगा. तो हम क्या करते हैं उसमें थोड़ा सैंपल डाल देते हैं और ये सैंपल देखते हैं वहाँ कौन सी पीक है. फिर उसको माइनस करके देखते हैं अच्छा यहाँ पीक है. फिर हम उस मेथड को डेवलप करते हैं कि पीक यहाँ नहीं चाहिए. व्हाट इज द रीजन. कहीं ऐसा नहीं पीस का है, एक्सट्रैक्शन में है या फिर कंडीशन है, प्रेशर का इशू है, यदि हमने टेम्परेचर का कर दिया मेंटेन नहीं हो पा रहा है या फ्लो में कोई इशू है. फिर हम उन चीज़ों को मैनिपुलेट करते हैं. फाइनली उसी एरिया को हम फोकस करते हैं कि हमारी पीक यहाँ पे आनी चाहिए उसकी स्टैंडर्ड की. एक तो स्टैंडर्ड अकेला चलाएंगे आप, एक आप सैंपल के साथ चलाएंगे.
तो स्टैंडर्ड को भी आप अलग-अलग कॉन्सेंट्रेशन बना लीजिए.
हाँ
तो आपको क्या
वो
होगा?
उससे पहले की स्टैंडर्ड है.
हाँ, अब क्या होगा आपको बहुत सारे क्वांटिटेटिव भी मिल जाएगा. मतलब
हाँ
5 माइक्रोग्राम, 10 माइक्रोग्राम, 15 माइक्रोग्राम, ऐसा आपको एक ही जगह पे पिक आएगा अलग-अलग.
वो उससे पहले की स्टेप है. इससे पहले आपको मेथड डेवलप करना पड़ेगा. मेथड डेवलपमेंट में सबसे पहले तो आपको ये देखना पड़ेगा कंडीशंस क्या है, सॉल्वेंट्स क्या है, और आप स्टैंडर्ड को लेके करेंगे. उसको स्टैंडर्ड्स का पता होना चाहिए कौन सा है. यदि वो केमिकली कंपाउंड है विच इज अवेलेबल सो इट इज गुड फॉर यू. तो आपको क्या करना है उस कंपाउंड को डिफरेंट डाइल्यूशंस पे लेके आपको ये देखना है कि अब डाइल्यूशन का बहुत बड़ा कंसेप्ट है. आप यदि ये सोचोगे कि 2 2 4 4 और 8 होते हैं, ऐसा मैथमेटिक्स में होता है. मैथमेटिक्स इज ए थ्योरेटिकल कंसेप्ट. ये इमेजिनरी वर्ड है जिसमें हमने 2 2 को 4 बोला है. बायोलॉजिकल में ऐसा नहीं होता है. बायोलॉजी इज बियॉन्ड द मैथमेटिक्स बेसिकली. ये हो सकता है कुछ लोगों को मैं रिकॉर्ड कर रहा हूँ, कुछ लोगों को बात अच्छी ना लगे कि 2 2 4 ही होते हैं. ऐसा कुछ होना नहीं है. सपोज यू आर इंक्रीजिंग द concentration. You think that after some time you also get the peaks in the same proportion. No, because economic choked and some different type of the interaction come up. So it will give the response up to a specific concentration. So first of all you fix the what is the concentration of the internal control that is giving the best peak actually. Then the same quantification you can applicable on your sample. You can quantify your sample also by doing this thing. Yeah, Dr. Pushpinder worked a lot on this GCMS. She know much better about this method development and many other things.
Actually, ma'am discussed with me. I told her that there might be some other derivative.
Derivatives come up.
And
And remember one more
we are
thing.
identifying these compounds with the library, na, so library may
What she
be
is
giving
saying
the
now,
false results.
the same sample, the same graph, she is getting the compound in the 3 different articles.
If you are purchasing some chemical from some company, okay, and you have to check what is the purity assay of that compound. If that is only just 92 and 93, so it has some other derivatives also. They can influence the whole concept. And you have to use the solvent, high grade actually. Solvent also has some adulteration and many other things.
So I think
So,
that's principle.
This is the art actually. If you complete this task, then rest of the things is just the tools and the interpretation. The first thing is that we have to know that where is the peak actually coming. And peak can easily identify. So method development requires a time, companionship time 6 months. And remember, if you think you give the sample to someone and he will just insert the sample and give you the result. He will never work with his best sprint actually. So for the best sprint, we say that give this machine to us, be confident for a few days, you just learn it and then put your sample. Every night you will get the answer of your query, whatever you raise during the day. Next day you start again and one day you will get the peaks. So to get the peak is a method development, and if your standard is not giving the peak, so there is something wrong with your method. If you are getting the peak from your standards but not from your sample, so some condition matters. Some condition you are compromising. And if condition everything is okay, then you are not getting the peak. So maybe that sample is not present, that analytes is not present in that sample. So try to understand, in the 3 different situations, there are 3 different observations. So which one is? So that's why from the India, if you go and find out, no very big databases are published by the India in the metabolomics. Because if you are not come from at a different level and you publish the databases, so it will be the nothing actually. She will take my databases and she is not able to do. So what is the meaning of that science actually? So whatever the databases and whatever the library, these are released by the different laboratory, it's a very validated approach and they use the rigorous exercise so that they have very good reproducibility also. And reproducibility requires extensive interpretation of from 0 to up to the output of your experiment. तो उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा काम करना पड़ता है आपको. But आप लगे रहिए कहीं ना कहीं से आपको खुद ही पता चलेगा आंसर. We can help you in the troubleshooting, but the real answer you will know by yourself when you expose with the different situation. जैसे जैसे आप situation को expose करते जाएंगे, आपको खुद आंसर आएंगे देखना. कोई नहीं बताएगा, आपको खुद आंसर आएगा. अगले दिन आप start हो जाओगे. So this is the way by which you can do the work actually. That's why in India we are the self-learner. Remember, in other countries they have very good setup. Anybody can go and can do the excellent work. But here, if we are the self-learner, we have the self-dryness. We can touch any sky. Because our system only helps those who has self-dryness. We are competition. We have very tough competition at every level. So only highly curious person, self-drive person, whoever is on the top now, they have only those 2-3 things. Self-drive. They are not dependent on the others. Independent. And they can do anything, whatever. They are the risk taker. We have so much scope in our country. Remember, there is so many new area come up and there is no manpower in this area and everyone is asking if you can do, please do this work, please do this work. Because those senior professor and scientists, they are already engaged, our burden as science, they are not doing anything now. Because they are our burden. Their health issues and they are now doing policy making. So everyone is looking new manpower and now manpower in the metabolomics, you know very well. Chemistry people are here but they don't know the biology. Biology people don't know ABCD of the chemistry. So that is a major issue. Now if you are doing this is the integrated approach, the question comes from the biology. And you have to take the help from the chemistry, but only you can give the answer. Chemistry person can't give the answer to the biological question. So yes, there is a need, so many manpower, and that's why it was in our mind. So we just go ahead with this young course there. Any other person come from your side? Ravi, क्या हुआ? 10 मिनट है हमारे पास. मनका सर को 4-10 का बोला. चाय का दे दो ना पीछे से. बाहर लोग आ जाएंगे तो पीछे रखवा दो. हाँ पीछे रखवा दो. वॉलंटियर है ना हमारे. सबने पूछी ना. बोलिए.
सर एक्सपेरिमेंटल सेटअप ऐसे तो मैं सोचा हुआ कि हमने पहले से मेटाबॉलिज्म में काम नहीं किया है. तो
तो ऐसे सोच रहे हैं कि जैसे फ्लावर डेवलपमेंटल स्टेजेस है उनके हम साथ में ट्रांसक्रिप्ट कर रहे हैं, अगर उसके मेटाबोलिक प्रोफाइलिंग के साथ में करें और वो इंटीग्रेट करें ट्रांसक्रिप्टोम में, कोई पर्टिकुलर बाथरूम में वो मेटाबोलाइट्स किसी को कंट्रोल कर रहा है, कोई जीन एक्सप्रेशन में एक मेटाबोलाइट का रोल है कि नहीं है, वो सब डिटेक्ट कर सकते हैं।
देखिए, flower has many components. Flower has sepal, petal, carpus, and the stigma is something different. And the stigma, ovule has two different types of the cell. One is the maternal, and second is the haploid and the reticulum. So, if you are working on the flower, so don't plug the whole flower and do the metabolic index. Because whatever the color, they will suppress the other things. So better to cut your flowers into the different components and then do the metabolomic analysis. In flower, maximum diversity you will get in the colors, okay. And the second, after fertilization, there is a senescence come up in the flower part, which is this ripening starting of the ovary and the ovule. So after senescence, the whole metabolomic is changed. So you have to select a stage, what day, what age, what tissue you are taking. Otherwise, you will get something different. So that thing you have to take care. Only after that it is a. रवि, चाय तो दे दो आप लोग. एक बार उसको फोन करना. GCMS में अजीत को.
ठीक है.
हमने GCMS में बोला हुआ है बच्चों को ना एक विजिट कराने.
आज ही सर.
हाँ, उसका बोला हुआ है.
पूछ ले.
हाँ जी. तो फिर.
Can we please arrange one hands-on from raw data to plotting the multivariate?
Which will do, definitely do. I told her, at least we just walk, so just so. Maybe that is not too much professional, but that is more significant thing. She will explain कि सब मैंने ऐसे किए.
Go from raw data to
Raw data. She will do. We have raw files. How she used the LCMS data, how she interpreted, how she made the plots. So those things she will explain. So wait for the 2 days. One session definitely she will do on behalf of my lecture. Today morning we discussed this thing is making. We are explaining these are the theoretical part. We say practical, but yes, theoretical part. How well we do the demonstration. So that is the point that at least one lecture Ritu will take, and yes, it will be more relevant for the understanding of the LCMS data, and she worked on the GC data, NMR data, as well as the LCMS data. So NMR we published in small journal, but yes, we published lipidomics actually, and lipidomics of the chickpea development we are working, so that we are submitting very soon, and this launch we are working for the metabolic. So she will relax. That is my headache.
Also, you will have to provide the slides. Also.
Slides you can take right now also.
Because it was overwhelming.
So I
Today's
think
lecture, so we can't.
she will share on the WhatsApp slides. Ritu will share on the WhatsApp, and the art paper, we referred some papers here. So this presentation is not by myself. Remember, whatever the presentation, these are the work of others. We know better, so that's why we convey this message to all of you. So we have papers, and every presentation has 2 and 3 papers. Those papers we share in the WhatsApp. भी हो जाएंगे या शाम तक हो जाएंगे.
या फिर आप मेल पे भी भिजवा सकते हैं.
मेल पे भी
मेल आईडी
भिजवा. हाँ, उस पे सबकी मेल आईडी पे तो नहीं हो पाएगा. वो हमारे लिए थोड़ा इशू रहेगा. बट ग्रुप पे डाल देंगे. ग्रुप पे डाल देंगे. एंड सेकंड होगा कि जैसे ही ये आपके पास आएंगे, अगर प्रोग्रेस करेंगे से उनकी सारी पेंडेंट ठीक है, सारी प्रोजेक्ट हमारे पास तो वहाँ पे दे देंगे.